Well, hello, everybody. It is back to school time somehow already. I feel like we just sat down and talked about the summer and how to prepare for the summer, and now we're preparing for school.
Yeah,
So
I know. It really went by fast.
it really did. Really did. Oh, it seems, I think we say that every August, in July, August.
I think it
Where did
really
the
went
summer
by.
go?
It went by pretty quickly.
Yes.
Every parent is saying it. Every kid is saying it. So here we are.
And setting up for summer is important, but I think setting up for school success is even more important than that because it's a really big chunk of your year. So we've got Bridget Barnes here with us from Boys Town's Common Sense Parenting Program, and she's going to be sharing with us some tips and tricks to get back to school more successful and make sure that it's a good school year for both parents and kids.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so let's talk about first timers. So this is the first year going to class, going to school.
Yeah.
What are some things? I know it was terrifying for me when I was a mom doing it with my kids. What are some things I should be practicing beforehand? Do you actually practice drop off? Do you practice what they do when they get there?
I'm glad you used that. Practicing is really very important for little kids to actually walk through the steps. What are they supposed to do? How is it supposed to go? I sometimes even take them to the place so they are not fearful of it. Okay, this is what the door looks like. See how big that is? And this is what we're going to do. You're going to give me a hug, kiss, kiss, love, love, turn around and then walk toward the, whatever ritual you might have. But have some kind of process and procedure for your child and for yourself, because I think probably most of the crying is going to be the parents the crying in this group. But I would say that doing that at home, taking them to the location so they know what it looks like, that it's not fearful to them, going in little groups so with other kids idea. So it's not all alone that I'm walking into the school. That kind of thing, kind of having a handoff so parents can know when to back away. Yeah, because
that's the hardest thing. Parents need the practice.
Exactly. So if they see you standing up there crying, that makes them more anxious, and they can tell by your face and by your body language that this might not be a good thing. So I would say the quicker you have a process in place and that you have a handoff in place and that they're going in with other children that they know and feel comfortable with, then I think that makes it a better, just kind of, interaction there at the door.
I wish I would have practiced what are we going to do if you cry and throw a fit? Am I going to stay? Am I going to console you? Or am I just going to go?
You're just going to go.
Like if we'd have practiced that and had that discussion, it would have been a whole different.
I think, it's, but hindsight, it's right. 2020. But I think that, parents can say, if you go into the school like a big boy or big girl, it's more likely we'll get to do something fun after school, or that you'll show your teacher that you're a big girl or a big boy. If you begin to feel fearful, what I want you to do is take that big boy breath and hold it in and then blow it out really slow on the count of 4 and take another one and then take a step toward the door and blow it out, and I'll do the same thing until you're inside the door. And, if you feel like crying, it's okay to cry. It's fine to cry. Tell your teacher you need some time and they'll take you to a place that it's okay to cry. Don't tell kids they shouldn't cry. Of course, they're going to have emotions, and that's fine. So sometimes parents are like, don't cry. It's all right. I'm like, it's fine to cry, but you're still going to go into the school. I'm not going to take you away. I'm still going to leave. And this is the procedure. I have a handoff, and this person knows if you cry, we're going to take you to this room. And if you don't, we'll take you in with the rest of the kids.
That's great. And I think that parents don't always assume that it's my child, but the teacher can handle it. Teacher is trained for this and they know what to do.
Yes, they've done it so many times before, and so they really can take over for you, and you really have to show them that trust and respect. And when you do that, your kids feel more comfortable that this person knows what they're doing. That
Good point.
So if you seem fearful or you seem like you don't trust this person, your kid's not going to trust them either.
Right. I think also I always assumed that because one kid had a really easy time, that the next one would be really easy. And that could not be further from the truth.
Yes. Every kid is unique.
Yep.
Every kid's going to have a different experience. I think us having the same process and procedure in place is good, but knowing that every kid is different, so there might be a little difference there for one child versus the other. My daughter went into the school like there was no problem whatsoever, whereas my son was holding onto my leg, and you know, we had to peel him off of me, and that kind of thing. So depending on the kid, it's going to be a little bit different.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about separation anxiety. And I know you mentioned this is something that you're hearing a lot about with in your classes. And you know, what's something we can do to practice with our kids beforehand and to pre-teach for things like separation anxiety?
Well, some children are going to have that true anxiety about that whole experience, and it's important to talk to your child about their fears long before you're at the school. Don't be afraid to have those conversations. Not having them doesn't make them go away.
Right.
And then working on some calming down, self-soothing strategy the child can do, and working through what's making you afraid and how can we dispel those fears. Like, will you be here when I get back? You know, that might be a fear for your child. What's going to happen to me when I go in there? That kind of thing. And so there's a time where the teachers are preparing. I used to go to the school because my son was on the spectrum, and so I wanted to introduce him in a positive way versus waiting for a negative thing to happen. And he had anxiety about going to school. So I would go, and the teachers were putting together their room. I knew who his teacher was. I was like, hello, and give her some cookies, hello, and introduce ourselves. And he'd shake their hand, and you know, all of that kind of fell away. And it was not, I'm meeting this stranger. I'm meeting my teacher who I already know, who I already met and had cookies with. I'm going into a place I feel safe, that my mom and dad have talked to me about, and I have a procedure that I can use to self-soothe myself and calm myself down. So if all those other things don't work, there are usually specialists in, you know, psychologists or a social worker or someone that's working in the schools, or just a trusted principal or a vice principal that can assist you.
Well, and I think it's great for the parent too, because then the parent builds a relationship with the teacher that's not, you know, based on a parent-teacher conference only or an email about something that's wrong, but it's more setting things off on a good positive foot.
Yes, and teachers like that too.
Yeah, that's great. The other thing you mentioned, which I liked, is not waiting until there's an issue and making sure that the teachers are aware of everything. You know, I think on those forms that you fill out at the beginning of the year that are, you know, 17 pages of everything, when they ask you, does your child have any fears or concerns or anything like that? It's sometimes you don't always want to write everything down there, but
there's
setting
been
up
a
a
loss,
meeting, taking cookies, that's a great way to address it.
If there's been a loss in the family, whether through death or a pet, or if there is a disorder on board or some kind of concern, teachers might not know anything about that, and you'll want to let them know. Or I know we're going to have an IEP in maybe a month or so. Want to let you know that we were working on this last year, and how can we set him up to succeed, you know? So, you know, kind of talking through those things in a neutral way, you know, teachers will appreciate that versus having to make that call. They don't want to make that call either, but it's, you know, something has gone wrong here. So if we can set them up for success and our kids up for success, they're going to have a successful school year.
We have a 10 days of back to school list on our website, and one of them is
I saw that.
One of them's discussing the what ifs. So talking about your fears and talking about which my daughter is going into junior high this year, and so she said, what if there's nobody in my lunch hour? What if I don't, you know? And so we talked about, well, how do you approach another table? What do you do? What do you say? What's your opening line? You know, I'm just something to make her feel a little bit more comfortable about that. So
good for you. I mean, I love that there's a place that parents can go, and a lot of times parents don't know that we have that wonderful website, but really just a few tips can make all the difference. And definitely practicing is very important to kids. You know, what to say, what not to say, how to be a good listener, you know, when you meet kids for the first time. So I think that's great. Wonderful.
What about practicing how they sit in school, practicing how they pay attention, how they listen? Are those things that, you know, we typically tell parents to go over, or is that?
Well, you know, definitely, you know, telling kids, hey, if you sit in the back, grade studies show
Right.
what kind of grades you're going to get based on where you're sitting. So if there's some kind of visual problem with your kids, really want our hearing issue or attention issue, this is where you need to sit. This is where I'm going to talk to your teacher about you sitting. So don't try to get all the way in the back, because we know you're not going to be able to deal with it.
Right.
And also just talking to your kid about how to be more attentive, how to ask questions. Lots of times kids are not asking questions in the classroom. I've talked to teachers. They're not asking questions. And why aren't they? Maybe they don't know how, the appropriate way to do that. So talk to them about that. Talk to kids about, how they interact with other kids in the classroom. You may want to be the joker in the room, but, if your grades are slipped, then the joke's on you. So, how to have fun with other kids, but at the same time be appropriate. Where is the line and where are the barriers? What are the rules? I tell parents all the time, go over the school rules with your kids. Don't assume that the school's going to go over that with them. And a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And I know they sometimes seem boring, but at dinner time or in the car, what's the first rule,
Yeah.
Because you never know. A kid might take a knife or take something you don't think.
Yeah.
This school they shouldn't have, and next thing you know, we're in trouble. So.
Or act up in class.
Yes.
And try to be. I tell you what, I'm the mean mom that hopes that my kids have no friends in their classes, because it's always a better year, and they always do so much better when they don't have any friends in their class. Which,
well, sometimes kids don't know when to turn it off. How to say, I'm going to pay attention now. Right. I'm not going to do that. And how to say it in such a way that's cool,
Right.
And I always tell my son, blame it on me. Just say, my mom's crazy.
My mom's
we want to be friends forever. I got to pay attention.
What about warning signs when things aren't going well? What are some things that I should look for that maybe would tell me that my kid isn't having the best time, or that there's something going on in the classroom or in the school?
Yeah, if you see some drastic changes in their behavior and how they eat or sleep, those are kind of telltale signs. Or if they stop hanging around a friend, a trusted friend, all of a sudden that's not their friend. Why is that happening?
Yeah.
Or they're hanging around some kids that they hadn't been hanging around, and you don't know anything about them. Why don't you know? And who are these friends? Their grades drop significantly, or they stop doing an activity that they used to love to do. What's going on with that? Or I don't want to be in this sport, or I don't want to be in this group anymore. Why is that happening? It might be happening for a good reason, but let's find out why.
Right.
And have those conversations. And so I tell parents that at the end of the day, kind of go over your kid's school day, not just by saying, how was your day? Because you won't get any information, but tell me the funniest thing that happened today, and tell me the worst thing that happened today, that kind of thing, and learn to listen and not interrupt them, and try not to judge them. Okay.
Right.
And so, and that can happen in the car. You can give 10 minutes to every kid. By the time you're home, you kind of know about what's going on in the school day.
Right.
Based on your child's view and their view of their world. You should talk to the teachers, and find out, what academic issues are going on, or the coaches or whatever. But definitely get your child's view of what their school is like.
Chris Hallstrom at the hotline always has such great advice, and I love it when she says, if your kids bring up something that's wrong or something that they're dealing with, don't always try to fix it. And, but just listen. Sometimes all they need is somebody just to listen and not tell them what to do about it, or tell them how to fix it, but just to be
excellent
sounding board.
Yes. And having that on a consistent basis, so they know it. Sometimes they'll use it, sometimes they'll not use it, but they know every day after school, there's going to be this time, whether it's a little later, right before they go to bed because of my schedule, or, right after school when their dad picks them up, or whoever, there's some time that I'm going to speak to someone.
Right.
And it's my parent that I trust.
Right. All right. Let's see what else we have. Let's see. School safety concerns. I think that's, one that's pretty topical right now. And kids are worried about the unknown and, violence and things happening in their school. Yeah. So what are some things I can do to help my kid feel okay going to school and feel safe? And
yeah, I think it's a concern for all of us, and I don't know if you can check off everything. There's a lot of unknowns there. But I think there are some things that kids can do to make themselves feel more safe, such as having close friends and having knowing a way out. It's just like any other fire drill. And most schools have them. How do you get out of a building, or what should you do if this thing should happen, or if this emergency or this weather situation, or whatever the case may be. What should I do? Kind of seeing some early warning signs. Sometimes we see that, and kids will say after the fact, well, he was saying this, or he put this up on his Facebook. Don't be afraid to talk to people. You're not being a tattletale. Someone is saying they want to hurt themselves, or they want to hurt someone else. They hate their school. Then we can get them the help while the problem is small. That doesn't mean they're going to be expelled, but if they do something wrong and we wait, then it's really hard to, deal with that. So I would say that letting kids know there's a difference between tattling and getting someone some help when they need that kind of help, and recognizing there might be a trend with somebody who's either being bullied or is bullying others, and what they're saying might be how they feel.
Right. Well, and teaching them too the importance of kindness and just being kind to their fellow students, and always including, or saying something nice can just change a whole person's day and perspective. I think that's important too. But I think a lot of the conversations that you're talking about and understanding some of that all really comes back to those questions that you ask at the end of the day. Because if you're just saying how was your day and it's fine, then you're not going to get into a lot of that. Exactly. You're not going to hear any of that.
Well, one school I went to, they had the teachers, and some parents came and volunteered as well, and they were in the hallway. So when kids were passing, teachers were saying, hello, hi, Johnny. They were interacting. And then we saw a rise in the children interacting better, and they saying hello to each other.
Right.
It takes adults to bring that to the table. We just can't depend on the children to do that. Right. And so volunteering at your school, being involved, parent involvement is a big indicator of how well kids will do. And sometimes we will see things in hallways and other, common areas that the teachers won't see that are in the classroom. And so volunteering there, but also everybody, teachers, parents, and kids being on the same page in regards to how do we want our schools to look, and what are some safety things that are there and are not there? What can we do differently?
Right. That's great. All right, let's see. All right, give me a couple more questions to ask at the end of the day. I loved some of the ones that you had, but
I think that
got good tips there.
Well, besides finding out what's the worst thing to happen and what's the best thing to happen in school, I definitely want to find out what are some struggles that I can help my kid with in regards to their academics. And that alerts me, do they need a study buddy? Do I need to get an educational mentor on board? What exactly do I need to do as far as their academics is concerned? Talking about if there was some trouble in the morning getting up for school or getting away to school, and what do we need to be doing differently? Not just what happened at school, but some of the things that happen around school that will help kids. Noticing that a kid is struggling with doing homework and I'm not able to help them based on what they're maybe learning or doing. Do we need to get a study hall and add to school? So talking about some problem solving, it can be a good way, what can I help you problem solve? What is something that's going on in the morning or in the evening or at school that I can help you problem solve, or that you can problem solve? And we have a great SOTUS method on our site that parents can use to help kids solve their own problems, and us to be there to support them.
Right. I think that's one of those skills, and one of the things I love most about the Boys Town teaching model is that everything is just so broken down, and there's no assumptions that the kids just innately know how to do something. So problem solving is one of those things.
Exactly.
Teaching the steps to problem solving and how to look at it. It's just so important.
Right. And when you teach that to a kid, you just enable them to be able to go out into the world feeling a little bit more confident that they can be able to negotiate challenges that they're going to be faced with, versus just feeling susceptible to everything that comes their way.
Well, we'll put that up, a link on that at the end of this. And then we also have 5 social skills for school that are important for school success that we'll stick up to, that are awesome. I don't know that the SOTUS is included in that, but it definitely should be. So we might have to change that.
Yeah.
All right.
I would think that would be good, just to go over the skill of the day. Yeah. The skill of the day is following instructions. I'll check for little ones. I check with your teacher how you followed instruction today. Yeah. And then practice it before school and after school, so they're more likely to use it at school.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of having a theme for that day of a social skill that they need to try to enact at school.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we didn't talk about morning routines. I wanted to talk about morning routines.
Did you now?
I did. I want to talk about it, but I don't want to practice it. Let's do it. What are some things I need to make sure, or what are some good maybe visual cues I can put down to make sure that everybody is on board with the morning routine and knows what to do, basically?
Well, having a card that says what you're supposed to do is a good way to, that says do this, and when they check it off, or if it's a chartboard and I move this magnet that says I've done those things, and when all the magnets are done, on the right side, then I can go on to doing the next thing. I always say, whatever your routine is in the morning, keep it moving. Once that time is done, go to the next thing. Don't let kids catch you on, I'm stuck here. If that time is over, move to the next thing. And you try to catch it up. Like if they didn't wake up enough time to, I don't know, brush their teeth, then they have these little mobile toothbrushes that you can give to them in the car, and they just take or if they didn't get to have a whole meal because they were waking up late or they were slow to get dressed, then maybe it's more of a portable meal that's going to go with them, that has a fruit and a protein, and they can get their day going. So I keep it moving so kids don't kind of hijack the home morning routine with their behavior. And if you notice that a kid is really struggling, make sure they get most of their things done in the evening. So don't put a lot of stuff in the morning. If you have a kid who struggles in the morning, why are you doing that? Make sure their backpack is already at the door in the car. Make sure that they've taken some of their hygiene activities off and their clothes are ready the night before. And so things are done way before the morning. If you have a kid who's not a morning person.
Right. Yeah. We had to, I have some older kids, and we had to limit, actually we canceled any phone time or any TV time in the mornings because it was such a distraction that they weren't having enough time to eat breakfast, forgot their bags, it was just, so that made a huge difference in our house, just eliminating that as a distraction.
And if you can get prepared before you wake, if you can, get yourself prepared. So then you're just kind of monitoring and moving people along because you're not rushing yourself. So if you can get yourself prepared, then you can assist other, your kids in getting their morning going versus.
You do that. You're good at that. You get up early and you have your coffee before your kids get up.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
If you can. Get some of those things done at night that you need to be done when they go to bed. Put all your stuff in the car. You're ready to go. So you just have to do a few things, and then you're just monitoring and keeping that routine moving. It's like a train. It's going and it's leaving the station at this time.
Yeah. That's great. Awesome. Well, thank you, Bridget.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it very much. All right, we have one more thing. We have a question. I hate that I'm seeing news stories about bulletproof backpacks. Any advice on discussing these tough topics with kids? Mine are in grade school. So we talked about that a little bit, but we didn't necessarily talk about discussing that and discussing.
They're out there, isn't a doubt. The kids are hearing about it, and I'm sure some kids are going to school with them. It's a conversation you should have on whether you want your kid to carry such a thing. I think, unfortunate but true, is beginning to be something that might be something that kids have and be a normal part of their backpacks.
Right.
So I would, talk about that, but I'm not making it a fearful thing. This is just, just like they have secured schools now.
Right.
So, but note to self, that doesn't solve all the problems. Having backpacks will not solve that bigger concern. And it takes a whole village to make a school safe.
Right.
So backpack won't do it.
Right.
But talk about, if that's something your kid wants and, what can it do and what can it not do and what are we going to do to take care of some of the bigger questions in place.
Right. I think the important thing is you're talking about discussing it.
Yeah, I think
that's huge because discussing anything, just ignoring it and not talking about it and assuming that your kids aren't seeing anything or worried about anything is, I think, where we struggle.
Yeah, I think it's going to be important that parents get make sure they get this backpack from a reputable. Because I'm sure there's going to be selling of that might not be to grade. But yeah, I think the conversations have to be had because they're already here.
Right. All right. Well, any other tips before we leave this?
Well, I just, as much as you can, try to enjoy the rest of this beautiful weather. Try to take some time out of the day to just enjoy your kids and not worry about, what's going to happen tomorrow at school or things like that, because they need some downtime. So when they come home from school, I really suggest to parents, try to have some downtime. Don't jump right into homework if you can.
Right.
A little snack, just some downtime is fine. And try not to get into too much technology right away, so that they truly do have some downtime. But, have that in place for yourself and for your kids so that you guys really get to spend time together, whether that's the ride home or you don't have any music at all. Like, some parents are, whether you do have a lot of music and you guys are dancing and singing to the music in the car and really enjoying each other.
Yeah, good together time.
Yes, I think it's very healthy for school success.
Yes, it is. All right. Well, thanks so much, everybody. Thanks, Bridget, for being here.
You're welcome.